Right guys, on to the next project, and you might have seen this lurking about in the background now and again. If you watch our other main channel, you've probably seen the first ever video we done on this. But we got this car in, we got it super cheap at the time, it needs a bit of work, we got it in, detailed the interior, and then we parked it. And it's been there for about 9 months now. But it's not actually one of yours, it's actually a customer's car, and they now want to get started on it, they now want to get it on the road. So it's time to start putting together this Ford Fiesta. So this is a 2009 Fiesta style, and I know you might be thinking that's a little bit old, but there was a reason we bought this, and I'll get to that shortly. So this car was originally bought from Copart. It's a typical Cat S because it is a Fiesta, and it's ripped the front mounting bracket, the front wing mounting bracket off, which is spot welded on, and anytime they come off it just seems to be an automatic Cat S. There's no frame damage, we'll get into that in a bit. I'll let you see the front. There's no damage on the crash bar. It was a very, very light impact. The bonnet's dented because we've been jumping on it for shits and giggles, but obviously the airbag's deployed, so that made it a Cat S as well. Windscreen didn't get damaged, and at the time it was super, super cheap. So it came from Copart to another guy who bought it. Him and his friend were building it. His friend became terminally ill, unfortunately, and couldn't commit any time to the project. And his best mate obviously didn't want to continue the build without his mate, so he put it up for sale. All the parts are here for it. All the front end parts are supposed to be here. The new dashboard and everything's here. It should just be a quick, simple job of putting it back together. The biggest problem I have with this car is when we went there, it was completely stripped. It was on axle stands. We had to rebuild it to get it to roll onto the back of a recovery truck. Battery was dead, never heard it run. The guy who bought it said it ran, but it was over a year ago. It's now sat here for about a year, nearly a year, and it's never ran. So we have never ever heard this thing running now. The whole reason we bought this car is it's supposed to have something like 20,000 miles for new. I have checked the MOT history, and the last MOT in 2022 showed 19,800 miles or something like that. So I'm pretty confident it's in the 20s. So what we're going to do today is strip off the rest of the broken stuff, get stuck into it, and see if we can get this to fire up. Because I really, really, really want to hear this running and make sure it's a good buy before we go spending any more money on it, because it's going to need some new brakes, it's going to need some new drive shafts, it's going to need quite a lot of stuff. Stay tuned, this one's going to be good. Let's see if we can get this to start. Right, first things first, I'll probably start by getting this old bonnet off, ripping this out of the way, and there's a few checks we're going to have to do before we even try starting the car. So we'll check the coolant level, which seems to be absolutely spot on and really, really nice and pink, so that's a good sign already. I want to also take the spark plugs out, have a quick look at them. I want to open up the air box and make sure nothing's nesting in it, make sure it's not going to suck anything in. I'll obviously check the oil. The fuse box is open, so I'm going to have to look and see if there's anything missing, make sure that's in place. We'll need to put a battery in it, and then we'll probably turn it over without the spark plugs in it, see if we can build up a wee bit of oil pressure, get the oil up to the top of the engine, because this has sat for a long, long time, so it's going to be bone dry up the top. So yeah, we'll do that first. Let's get stuck in. I think, looking at this, the only thing that's got terminals in it is that relay point there. Everything else is empty, so we need to invest in some lights. Nothing's nesting in it. Well, hopefully this should turn fairly easily then. Hopefully I'll be able to date for the alternator. I suppose with everything checked now, all that's left is to chuck the booster pack on it and see if it'll turn over. Right, here we go, try again. I've got a sneaky suspicion I borrowed a relay to this to test in my micro before we went to Gibraltar, and I didn't replace it. So I've been next door. Luckily the guys next door do a load of Fiestas. So I've took a picture of their fuse box and I've borrowed one of the relays. So I think I might have nicked the starter relay to this, so hopefully we'll crank this time. Right, let's see if we crank this time. No, still no crank. Oh, hold on. So I've plugged the speedo clocks back in just in case the immobiliser goes through the speedo clocks just like the Volkswagens and Audis. And it's actually, the mileage just came up, it's 21,581 miles, which is nothing, absolutely nothing. If I turn the, is the booster pack on? Yeah. If I turn the ignition on, it's got half a tank of 2-year-old fuel in it. Let's see if it'll crank now. Yeah, so it needs to go through speedo clocks. Alright, good connection. It's turning around. Plugs are back in. Time to do the honours and see if it will start again. We'll see if 2-year-old, 3-year-old fuel's going to be good enough. The Scirocco started. It had 6-year-old fuel in it. You ready? Prime the fuel pump a couple of times. That was fairly easy. Not a very dramatic will it run video because the answer is aye. It'll run no problem. There was a couple of wee tappy lifter noises with the oil pressure being a bit low. It's probably going to take a wee while for stuff to free up and just start to run okay, but yeah. First turn of the key, 21,500 miles, and that's it running. We'll probably leave it running for a bit, let the oil get round it, we'll get a good check, we'll lubricate some pulleys and stuff, we'll just make sure everything's okay. But yeah, well, seeing as that went so easy, we may as well get it up on axle stands, have a look underneath, and start making a list on what we need to finish this off. We might even be able to panel this up in this video and get this back to normal, because all the stuff is in here. Dashboard's in there. We might not get the dashboard in today, but the dashboard's there, the wings, the stereos, everything's here. The bumper's lying on the floor, the bonnet, where's the new bonnet? Oh, it's outside. It's on top of the Citroen Picasso over there. So yeah, we've pretty much got everything we need, so let's see if we can get this panelled up as well. Right, so what we actually done was we've changed the seat belts inside the car while we let this run for a bit. So we've left it running, the coolant is circulating fine, cooling fan's coming on and off, no problem. Everything seems to be good, so that's probably nearly an hour it's been running. And it all seems good, so we've got it up in axle stands. I think what we'll do now is start checking out the subframe, getting a list on parts we need. If I remember correctly, when we went to pick this car up, the whole subframe and everything was off it. Subframe, bottom arms, shocks, I think, were the shocks in or just dangling? I can't remember. But it was in bits anyway, and we had to quickly throw it together so we could roll it on the back of the recovery truck. So we need to have a really good inspection and just make sure that everything's there, tight, fitted and good to go before we even attempt to try driving this. I think even one of the drive shafts is cut in half. Don't ask me why, I don't know, but I'm sure we've got a drive shaft here for it as well, so we'll probably need to swap that. So yeah, plenty to be getting on with. Let's throw in a quick time lapse. We'll crack the wheels off, start getting a list, start tightening stuff up and see where we go from there. Right guys, as you've seen in that time lapse, we've got all the suspension stripped, everything's cleaned up, it's ready for the new brakes. We've got a spring to swap. We had to make some new anti-roll bar bolts. We had some brand new bolts there, but they were too long, so cut them down, cleaned them up, they're ready to fit. We're just waiting on some new parts now. We need some drop links, we need a new spring, we need some new discs and pads. So they're on order at Auto Parts. So while we were waiting, I don't know if the time lapse caught it or not, but we managed to test fit the whole front end. So headlights are on, bonnet's on, bumpers on. I do need to weld the bracket, the wing bracket on the passenger side. That's the whole reason for test fitting it, so we could make sure I'd bent it back into the right position and lined it up properly. So yeah, the bonnet can stay on, we've lined that up properly. We'll whip the rest off, give that a wee weld later on. But we've got the monumental task now of trying to get the dashboard back in. So we bought this car, it was already stripped out. All the nuts and bolts are lying in the door pockets. It's going to take a bit of figuring out, so we'll probably throw this on another quick time lapse. Enjoy the music. We'll try and figure out how this dashboard goes back in and get it all bolted up. So guys, it's been a couple of days, and in that last time lapse you seen us wrestling with the dashboard, trying to get that back in. We eventually got it figured out and it's looking really, really good. We've got it in, everything's working, seats are back in, the dashboard's all working properly, 21,581 miles, radio's working, heaters, blowers are working, everything's all good in here. Everything's secure, we've got the vents back in and it looks so much better. The only thing I'm going to have to do is I need to take the centre console back out because I can't clear the airbag fault. It's obviously stored the crash data. So I'm going to need to try and find one down the breakers that doesn't have crash data stored in it, or we're going to have to send this one away and get it reset. So anyway, there's plenty to get on with because we need to take the front bumper back off. As we showed you, this is literally just test fitted. So we need to get it back off, we need to fit the washer bottle, there's a few other bits and bobs to do, plus all the new parts have arrived. So we've got the new discs and pads, I've got the drive shaft here, we've got the spring, we've got the drop links, we've got the new bottom arm, and me and Charlie managed to go down to Burnham's, and we got a new splash guard as well. And we also got all the missing bolts for the subframe, steering rack and everything else that we needed. So let's get it put back together. I think we're actually going to get this car mobile in this video. One video, we've fully rebuilt this, got the dash back in and got it driving hopefully. So let's get on with bolting up all the undercarriage and fitting this bumper for the last time. Right, we're now at the point, we've got that side pretty much built up. This side here, the new bottom arm's on, subframe's all attached, and it's time to refit the drive shaft, but whoever took it off has made an absolute pig's ear of this. Like, look at the end of that drive shaft. It's just been battered to bits, so we're going to have to chop off a good amount of thread there, and hopefully still have enough to refit this, but that ain't a good start, so let's get this on the grinder. Drive shaft in. We got the end of it cleaned up, we got a nut to go on and off it. Managed to find a clip for the inner drive shaft as well. So this is another step closer to being running and driving. Once we get this back in. There we go. That's that side on. Now we need to swap the hub. What one was it? This one? Oh, it's this one here without the ABS sensor. So this is the original 20,000 mile hub, and you can see how they managed to make a mess of the drive shaft because there's just massive hammer marks on here as well. I think the wheel should still fit on that okay though. A wee bit of filing maybe. But I'd rather use a 20,000 mile wheel bearing than whatever this one is, because this one's clearly off a lot older car, so we'll go with this one I think. The hub's on, shock's on, we've got the drop link on, I've reinstalled the ABS wire. Now I'm just putting on the track rod end. Hopefully this second hand steering rack's okay. This was another item supplied by the car, with the car. So we don't know anything about its history. So we're just going to have to fit it and see and hope for the best. Just try to clean everything up as I go along and make sure everything goes on properly. And then I've got just the brakes and the splash guard to fit on this side. So one of the things we were struggling with was getting the airbag light out, because although we'd changed all the airbags, dash bags, seat belts, everything like that, the crash module still had stored data in it. And when we bought the car, it was supposed to come with everything to repair it, but it was missing a crash module. So rather than try and waste time sending ours away to get virginised and put back in, I thought I would go down to the breakers, see if I could find one the same part number that hasn't been in an accident, which I've managed to do. So we've fitted it. Hopefully all will be well and I'll be able to clear the airbag light. Loads have been erased. Let's see if they stay away. Right guys, there we go, crash module's replaced. Everything's double checked. We've got a clean bill of health. There is no lights on the dash. Everything's all good. Charlie's just fitted the front bumper while I was doing that and fitted the inner splash guards. So all I need to do now is tighten up the steering column, then we can get some wheels on this, and then we can actually take this for its first ever drive, test the clutch, test the gearbox. I'm hoping with 21,500 miles on the clock everything's going to be okay. We've put some new headlight bulbs in it because the headlights weren't working, and yeah, this thing is almost ready for its MOT. So let's get some wheels on and get it down the road. Right guys, here we go. Fiesta maiden voyage. Isn't it going well? I have no clutch. No clutch. Wonder if we need to bleed it a wee bit. It's getting there. Think we might need to bleed the clutch. Right guys, clutch is bled. I've now got gears. Let's give this another try. Here we go. First impressions, so far so good. We've just went down the potholes, no knocks or bags. First to second worked. Brakes feel good. Right, we can't go on the main road, but we'll go up and down Cardzo Road because obviously it's not MOT'd. Second, we'll try third. Yep. Third's working. Fourth. Fifth. Good, good. All the gears. All the gears. Brakes feel decent. Maybe a wee bit grindy on the back. Need a wee clean up. Handbrake feels good though. Handbrake a few wee jabs, see if we can clean the shoes and drums up a wee bit. Oh, it locked. Yeah, it's got to pass its MOT alright, it locks the handbrake. Let's just spin it around here and we'll go back there again. I think the steering wheel's just out a wee touch to the left, so it could probably benefit from a wheel alignment. But coming down the road over these potholes and stuff, there's no knocks or bangs, everything drives nice. This thing seems really sweet. I think it's actually ready for its MOT, so let's get it back, and the last thing we have to do before we submit it for MOT is obviously make it look presentable. So me and Charlie have cleaned it as we've put stuff back, but it could be done with a hoover and a wee clean. But the outside of it, well, the windows need a clean. It needs to get a couple of years worth of dust removed and just freshened up a bit, ready for its MOT. So let's get on with that. Guys, look at this little Fiesta. Charlie's just gave it an absolute scrub, and it's actually cleaned up really well. There's a few wee marks and scrapes on the second-hand parts. All the mosses came off around the windows. It's actually a really, really tidy little car. Job done. Right guys, there we go, Fiesta's all done and it's ready for its MOT. This little thing cleaned up amazing. After sitting for 3 years nearly, it's turned into a really, really nice little car. It's not mine to sell. I'm going to get back to the customer, who knows what they're going to do with it. But yeah, that's it for this video. Massive thanks for your support and your thumbs up and your comments. Keep them coming. It really keeps us motivated to keep pumping this content out. And if there's any videos that you guys are interested in seeing, drop that in the comments as well, and we'll try and plan it in. If there's anything you need help with, anything I can give you some advice on, or anything you can help me with, get in the comments, let us know, and we'll get that planned as well. But thanks again for watching, stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.